Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to go through and review, do a few problems together, okay? Really quickly, these two are review skills. So what I want you to write down is I want you to write down on this one that you're going to find the x and y intercepts to graph that one, okay? So I believe this is on page like 23 in your notebook. You can look it up in your table of contents, finding x and y intercepts if you're not sure how to do it. If it does not go in evenly, you'll get a decimal, okay? Just take that decimal and estimate where it is on the graph. Does that make sense? Okay, for your intercept. This one, you are going to find the slope and the y-intercept. Because what format is this one written in? Y equals mx plus b format, right? So this one, you're just visually looking at the line, like the equation of the line, and then you're going to find the slope and the y-intercept, use those things to graph, okay? I'm not going to do those two with you, but one of the ones I do want to do with you is number 5 or 6, or sorry, number 3 or 4. So which one would you guys like to do, 3 or 4? 3? Okay. So what form is this equation written in for number 3? Y1 equals m times x minus x1, right? This is point slope form, okay? When it's written in point slope form like this, okay, you're going to find your point, and then you're also going to find your slope, okay? So remember, our x value in our point is going to be the opposite of this number here. So what's the opposite of positive 2? Negative 2, okay? Our y value in our point is going to be the opposite of this value here. So what's the opposite of negative 5? Positive 5, okay? So that's our starting point. All right, then from there, we're going to use the slope. Which number in the equation is the slope? Yeah, negative 1/2. So the slope is negative 1/2. When I'm thinking about what direction the slope is telling me to go, since it's negative, am I going up or down? Down. So I'm going down 1, right 2. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and graph the line. I'm going to go to the point, negative 2, 5, which is right here. I'm going to put an ordered pair, a point right there. Okay, and then this slope tells me from that point where I go. So I'm going to put my pencil on that point. I'm going to go down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. I want you guys to do that as many times as you can until you run out of space on your graph. Okay? All right. Once you have all those points, you can go ahead and take a straight edge and connect them. If you don't have a straight edge, you can do the best you can. Or remember, I have rulers up front on top of the Chromebook cart if you want to use one. Okay? All right, so that's what our line looks like, right? Okay. All right, let's take a look at the next problem. So let's take a look at number 5. Okay. Problem number 5. What does it say it wants you to do? Yeah, we want to write the slope-intercept form. Now, it's really important that you guys are reading the instructions on all of these because it's going to specify what form it wants you to write the equation in. So remember what slope-intercept form looks like. It looks like y equals mx plus b, right? That's slope-intercept form. So in order to write the equation in slope-intercept form, I need to write the slope, I need to know what it is, and I also need to know what is the y-intercept, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this line. Where is your y-intercept on this line? 3, okay? So I at least know what number is going in the spot there. It's going to be positive 3, okay? And now I also need to find the slope, okay? So what is the slope of this line? What is this line doing? Well, let's find another good point that I can use to help me find my slope. So I can even use this point right here, right? Okay, so what did I do to get from here to here? Up 1 over 1. Okay, so when I'm thinking about my slope is positive because I'm going up 1, right 1. Does that make sense? Now, am I going to write the number of the slope like this? How am I going to write it? 1, right? X. Okay, so there's the equation of my line. I filled in my slope. I filled in my y-intercept, right? Because my y-intercept was 3. But is this the most simplified version of the line that I could write? What's even more simplified than this? Y equals x plus 3. Okay. Does that make sense what we did there? Okay. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, if you're done with that one, flip over your paper. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at numbers 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So number 7, let's read the instructions. It says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given point. So what form does it want my answer in? Slope-intercept, right? Slope-intercept, remember, is y equals mx plus b. Okay, the things I need to know to write the equation in this form are the m and the b, right? Now, what did they give me here? What information do I have to start with? Set of points, right? Did they give me the slope? Did they tell me the y-intercept? No, okay. So, can I find the slope? I have 2 points. Can I find the slope? Yeah, how do I find the slope if I'm given 2 points?
y2 minus y1 equal over x2 minus x1.
Yeah, we're going to use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, that's the slope formula right here. This is what we want to use to help us. Okay, so write that down if you don't have it memorized. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and label our x's and y's, and we're going to start out by finding our slope. So our slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Did you guys get a double negative right here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, what do we get for the answer on that?
I got -4/3.
Negative 4 over 3. Okay, there's our slope. All right, so I have my slope. Now I need my y-intercept, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this slope and one of these points into the equation to help me find my y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to use the point that I think is easier to work with. Which one would you guys like to use?
0, -2.
The second one? Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in the y value into the y spot. What was the y value? -2 equals, what is the m value?
-4/3.
-4/3 times, what is the x value? 0 plus b. And now I'm going to solve for b. Now what happens when I multiply 0 times -4/3? 0, right? So I really have 0 plus b equals -2. So what does b equal to? -2. So now, do I have my m?
Yes.
Yeah. Do I have my b?
Yes.
Can I write the equation of the line now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's write the final answer. Y equals, what is m?
-4/3.
-4/3 x. Am I going to write plus -2?
No. Minus.
Just write -2. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's my answer for number 7. Okay, so remember, on this type, your steps are find the slope, then use the slope and a point to find b, then write the equation of the line. Okay? All right, are there questions on that one? Okay, let's go to the next problem. Okay, the next type of problem, this, it says this is skill F3. I think this is a typo. This was actually skill from section F4. This was supposed to say 4 right here. Can you guys fix that? Just in case, like when you're looking in your notebook. Okay, it's not F3, it's F4. Okay, but on this skill, what is it asking us to do? Okay, write the slope-intercept form. So it wants us to write the equation in the form y equals mx plus b. Now we already have an equation here. So we don't need to like solve for b or try to find m or anything like that. All we need to do is rearrange this equation so that then it's in the right order. Does that make sense? This is the homework that you guys were supposed to do on Friday that most of you didn't do. Okay? So let's take a look at what we're going to do. Okay? I want it to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. I want the y to be on that side, on the left side. I want the x term to be on the right, and whatever I'm adding or subtracting with it to be right after it. Okay? Is this one set up the right way? No. Okay? So one thing I notice is that my y term is over here, and my x term is over here. My regular number, like negative 29, the constant, is over here, right? So some things need to get moved because they're on the wrong sides. I want y to be over here, so how would I move it? Well, I'm not going to divide it, okay, because then I would have to divide 29 by y. And I don't want to get 29 divided by y because I don't want y to be in the denominator, okay? But what's the opposite of like a negative 1y? Positive 1, right? A negative 1 plus a positive 1 makes what? 0. Does that make y go away on this side? Okay, so now what happens if I add y to the other side? Well, now I just have y minus 29 equals 6x. Like these two don't actually add together or subtract with each other because they're not like terms. Does that make sense? So we just write them next to each other side by side. Okay? This is like when you guys learned about solving literal equations. Remember when you guys learned about solving literal equations, the equations with all the different letters and there's barely any numbers? You remember that? Remember how we couldn't combine things that didn't have the same letters? That wasn't allowed. You had to just write them next to each other. This is the same thing here. We can't actually subtract these because they're not like terms. So we just write y minus 29 because we don't know what y is. Okay? All right. What else is on the wrong side still? 29. So how am I going to move that? You're going to add it to both sides. Now, when I add it, where does it belong in this format? Behind the x, right? So I'm going to just add it on to the end of that. Does that make sense? Why I'm doing that? Okay, so what's my final answer to this equation? Y equals 6x plus 29. Okay. Are there questions on that one? Okay, we're going to do one more of these together. I'm going to let you guys look at them and decide which one you guys want to do. Out of 11 through 16, which one looks super scary that you guys want to do together?
12 and
12 and what else?
16.
And 16. Okay, what do you guys prefer, 12 or 16?
12.
12? Okay. What's so scary about 12? Oh, you guys know, though, how to deal with a fraction. What do you do to get rid of a fraction? You multiply through by whatever's in the denominator, or if you have different denominators, you multiply through by the LCM. Okay? So, let's go ahead and multiply through by what's in the denominator here. Okay, so times 5 times 5. Don't forget on this side, times 5. Okay? So now, we get negative 5 equals, remember these 5s are going to cancel. What's 1 times y? 1y, or just what? Y. Okay, these 5s cancel, and you have negative 1x. Can I just write minus x? Is that okay with you guys? Okay. All right. So, you guys, don't I really want y on this side? Okay. I noticed, though, that y is already positive when it's over here. Okay. But I really just want it on this side. So is it okay with you guys if I just do this really quick? What did I just do there? I just flipped it around, right? Isn't 2 plus 1 equal 3 the same thing as 3 equals 2 plus 1? Like I can just flip it. Does that make sense? Like, let me give you something with real numbers. Isn't this really the same thing? Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing. Hold on. Isn't this the same as this? Am I allowed to just change the side that it's on? Yeah, as long as I move everything from one side to the opposite side, right? Okay, so now that y is on the correct side, what's wrong? What needs to move? X. Let's add x. Okay, when I add the x, where do I want it? Before or after the 5? Look at your format. Y equals mx plus b. Where should it go? Before or after the 5? Before. So y equals x minus 5. Now is it in the right format? Yeah. Okay. All right. Are there questions on that one? No? Okay. What would be the purpose of taking an equation and rewriting it into slope-intercept form? You guys know? Like, if I had this equation and it told me to graph it, would that be very easy to graph the way it was written originally? No. But what if I move it into this form? Now do I know the slope and the y-intercept? Now is it easier to graph? So that's the purpose of why we need to know how to do this, is in case we ever have an equation that's written in a strange form. We can just solve it for y, and then we can graph it easier. Okay? All right. Let's go down to number 17 and 18. Okay. On numbers 17 and 18, what form does it want you to write the equation of the line in? Okay. So, you have to make sure here that you're doing the correct format. What does point slope form look like? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? Now, remember, when it's in point slope form, we're trying to fill in our point and fill in our slope. So in the first problem set, did they give you a point? Did they give you a slope? Do you have all the information you need? Yeah, so let's write the equation of the line. Okay, y, we're going to do the opposite of this. So what's the opposite? Plus 2 equals m times x, and then the opposite of the x value. That's it. You're done. It's that easy. Okay? Now, remember why I do the opposite? Because, like, in the formula, there's already a negative. So what's a, for example, on the y value, what's a minus a negative 2? What's a negative negative 2? A positive 2. That's why I just take the opposite. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's look at the very last one. Okay. So, on the very last one, what form does it want it in? Point slope. Now, they gave you 2 points. Did they give you a slope?
No.
No. Can we find the slope?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you guys remember the slope formula that we wrote down?
Yeah, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Okay. So let's plug our values into the slope formula. Okay, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Did you guys get a double negative on the bottom? Okay, so on the top, -6. What do we get on the bottom? 0 plus 2. Okay. And what's -6 divided by 2? -3. Okay. So now we have our slope, and we have all these points to choose from, right? Doesn't matter which one we use. I'm just going to use the first one, okay? But remember, you can use either one. You're going to get two equations that look different, but they're equivalent, okay? So it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm just going to choose the first one. So y, and the opposite of this one is positive, not positive, -5, so -5 equals m. What was my m value I just found? -3 times x, and the opposite of this one? +2. I'm doing what I just did in the previous problem, except I just had to find the slope first. This is the answer. Okay, are there questions on that? Any questions? Okay, so what you guys are going to do is you're going to finish the rest of the problems like today in class. And for those of you that didn't do the Friday homework, you have tonight also to finish that Friday homework. I'm checking both of them tomorrow. Okay? Are there questions? Okay. I want you guys to make sure if as you're working on this today in class you're getting stuck, you ask me for help, because what do you have coming up tomorrow? Quiz. So make sure you get help if you need it, because this is your last opportunity before your quiz to ask questions, okay? All right.